Reason not to start this meeting? All right, then. That's what we're going to do. Welcome to the board meeting of Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. Give us a second to get the roll call started. And we do have one supervisor who is not feeling up to snuff, and so he'll be Zooming in today, and that's Supervisor Madrone. Do we have to name the code by which that occurs?
Supervisor Madrone will need to address the reasons as to why he's appearing remotely today, pursuant to AB 2449.
AB 2449. All right, I'll let Supervisor Madrone do that himself. We'll do that after the roll call, if we can. So let's start with the roll call, and then Supervisor Madrone can address the board for about his absence.
Thank you, Chair. Supervisor Arroyo? Here. Supervisor Bushnell?
Good morning.
Supervisor Bone?
Howdy.
Chair Wilson?
Here.
And Supervisor Madrone.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I am homesick, and nobody is in the room with me over the age of 18 years old, although my sweetheart Oceana may pop by the camera every now and then.
Okay, great. Let's do the salute to the flag. Sheriff Hansel, you want to lead us today? Sure. Thanks. Kaylee, you want to give us a bit of information about the meeting today, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good morning and welcome to the meeting of January 13th, 2026. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Brown Act and applicable state and local requirements. Members of the public may participate in person and/or remotely as noticed on the agenda. For those participating remotely, public comment is welcomed and encouraged. To help ensure your voice is heard, it is recommended that you raise your hand at the start of the items you wish to comment on. If you are joining by computer or mobile device, please use the raise hand feature to indicate your desire to speak. When it is your turn, you will be unmuted by staff. If you are joining by telephone, please press star 9 to raise your hand. When recognized, you may press star 6 to unmute yourself and begin speaking. Please state your name for the record before making your comment. The board asks that all participants conduct themselves with respect and courtesy. Comments should be directed to the board as a whole and limited to the time allowed. That is all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now I just want to ask the CEO, is there any changes to the agenda?
Good morning, Chair Wilson. There are no changes to the agenda this morning.
All right, and I want to announce that we have a 12 p.m., meaning noon, time set for an amendment to the inland and coastal zoning regulations to add sections 313 and 314 to implement employee housing regulations. And with that, we're going to go to the consent calendar. I'm going to try a little bit different methodology today. We have a list of things on the consent calendars that are proclamations and some adjournments and memories of and those sorts of things. If you're here or if you're online just to speak to any one of those things, we'll make a little bit of time after each one of these to do that. But if you're going to speak on multiples, you only get one shot at the consent calendar, so hold your comments till the end if that's what you're going to do, multiple comments on these things. So with that, we have a proclamation in recognition of the Sheriff's Citizens on Patrol program. So Sheriff Hansel, you want to come on up?
Good morning. Do we have the proclamation?
We do have a proclamation. It's right here.
Okay,
I'll read it.
great.
Didn't realize it was right in front of me. There it is. There's two of them, actually. I have two of them. I don't know why. I won't read it twice, I promise.
That's
Okay. All right. So this is a proclamation in honor of Sheriff Citizens on Patrol. And whereas the Sheriff Citizen on Patrol problem has selfishly. Yeah, I haven't had any coffee this morning. I apologize. So, served the Eureka community for over 30 years, contributing hundreds of volunteer hours towards public safety and community engagement. And whereas Scope volunteers have provided visible patrol checks throughout Humboldt County, offering an added layer of security and peace of mind for residents and business owners alike. And whereas the team has performed countless house checks, ensuring the protection of private property and offering reassurance to community members while they are away from home. And whereas the members have reliably assisted with traffic controls during events and emergencies and helping to ensure the safety and smooth operation of numerous public gatherings. And whereas the program has actively participated in a wide range of community events, reflecting its deep commitment to building positive relationships and fostering trust between residents and law enforcement. And whereas many volunteers, such as Barry Jensen and Lori Rice, have dedicated over a decade of service, demonstrating extraordinary commitment, leadership, and civic pride through their ongoing contributions to Humboldt County's well-being. And whereas the recently retired members of the program are especially deserving of recognition for their years of steadfast service, their legacy of dedication and it continues to inspire current and future volunteers. And now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors, Sheriff William Hansel, and the staff of the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office hereby recognize and commend the Sheriff's Citizens on Patrol volunteers for their exemplary service, unwavering dedication, and significant impact on the safety and quality in Humboldt County. All right.
Thank you.
Yay. Let me get you this. Sure.
That's awesome.
So take them both. I signed them. So many instructions for me today. Those mornings, I feel it. All right, here we go. Okay. It's up to you. All right. Look, I'm dropping things. One of those days.
It is the 13th.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. A few words?
Yes.
I'll leave this with you.
Yes, thank you so much. Chair Wilson, thank you so much for recognizing two of our outstanding members of our Sheriff's Citizens on Patrol. Barry and Lori have dedicated so much to this community and often goes behind the scenes. People just see the scope car going around and doing vacation checks, doing patrol checks, sometimes issuing parking citations, handling some neighborhood complaints.
Oh, thank you.
But they are truly just so special. And all good things have to come to an end, I guess. They would love to work, more, but for health reasons and other things that they have to retire. But it's going to be hard because we're used to seeing both of them here during the week and going out there and being a part of our community and flying the flag of the Sheriff's Office and the county, and just showing how much that they do care and they want to be a part of it. So I just, on behalf of the Sheriff's Offices and again, the county, thank you guys so much for all the dedicated service that you guys have given us, and you will not be replaced. We'll have to find other people to do this job, and we hope that they do it just as well as you did. So thank you so much. And I want to give you the mic in case you wanted to say something. Lori's out.
I just want to say it's been my pleasure to do this, and I just hope that we leave the county in a little bit better shape, a little bit cleaner, a little bit safer.
Outstanding. Thank you, Barry. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Any comments from the board? Supervisor Bone.
Yeah, I've got the distinct pleasure of knowing both Barry and Lori for over half my life, and with Barry, both of them longer. And I think the SCOPE program brings so much, and I take this, I think of O'Neill and Leggett, because when you drive by those old police cars, that one's a 39, the other one's a 52 or a 53, but when you drive by them on the highway and you see those old antique police cars, everybody takes their foot off the pedal. Doesn't matter. And then you say, God, darn it, why did I do that? That's not, nobody's even in it. It makes a difference when a police car drives down the street or a sheriff's car drives down the street. It is a deterrent. I always enjoy seeing them around my neighborhood. And the guys can't be everywhere. I remember 30 years ago, or 29 years ago, I'm not sure if it was when it first got started, Runner Petroleum, good family-owned business that I happen to be involved with, supplied all the fuel. I don't know if that is, but they stepped up because they understood the value in that. And the value that they provide, and it said hundreds of hours. I know it's been thousands of hours because I know the miles they put on the cars and stuff like that. So I think to step up and do that, you got to remember, they're leaving the nice warmth of their house to probably not, and Barry, he's the king of directing traffic. I mean, you'll see him you'll see him everywhere directing traffic and out, and I'm sorry to see him go. Barry, I worked with for years. Lori, you're married to him, but that's okay. But anyway, thank you guys so much. It means a lot, and I think, and just like we said, if people want to look into this, this is a very rewarding thing that provides a lot of service to the community.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you, both of you, so much. I know I've seen you both around and about at community events and driving around and keeping an eye on our communities. And I really want to thank you for being that bridge between the local community and our sheriff's department. So, at so many community events and opportunities to kind of add insight into what the department does in our community and just offer that force multiplier that we so need during these times and always. So, to be able to have folks to go out to help with traffic or to help with response to incidents when we need extra eyes and ears is so valuable. So thank you so much for all the years of service, and I very much hope we can recruit dedicated folks in your stead, and I'm sure you'll be out there getting the word out about how meaningful it is to be part of the program too. Thank you.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. I'm sure this is your second retirement, so you found yourself wanting to do something and thought the Sheriff's Department would be a good place. I agree. I agree with Supervisor Bone that when you see that car, you automatically, no matter what, are like, oh, am I doing something wrong? So it's a great deterrent. And the community, people, you built relationships within the community and you built relationships within the Sheriff's Department. And thank you for all of your volunteer time. It's not easy and it's a lot of work, and we're going to miss you. Thanks.
Great. And Kaylee, we have a supervisor on the line, so I just want to make sure if you see his hand up, you'll just jump in and let me know.
Of course, his hand's not up.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. I just, being present for your community is just so important in so many ways, and this is just one of those really important ways to do that. So anyone who wants to join or volunteer, please reach out to William Hansel, and he'll help you figure it out. All right. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is we're going to today adjourn in memory of Anna Sparks, former supervisor. And I don't know if we have anyone here to speak to that directly. We do? All right. All right, then this is the time to do that, if this is what you're here for. All right. I'll let former supervisor jump in before that happens.
Morning. I actually wrote some things down so I wouldn't get too carried away. I actually started working with Anna when I was 16 at the Trinidad Dock Restaurant. So we had the good experience of being a customer and cook and providing services to the public and having to work between management and make everything okay between all those levels of possibilities. So, but who would guess that Chainsaw Annie and Tree Hugger Fulkerson would have anything in common? Actually, we had a lot. And I have one tale to tell. We shared a room and rides to Sacramento to save taxpayers and the county money. Both of us were conservative, Depression-era kids, and cared about how funds were spent. Imagine that, especially at the congressional level, people sharing rooms. On my first room share, I actually spent money, my own, on a set of flannel pajamas. I wanted to be well dressed since I was sharing a room with Anna. Anna came back to the room long after I was asleep, and when she got up in the morning, I found her in a long t-shirt with the words, "In the morning, I'm a bitch." We both laughed, and I got over my need to be proper with Anna. On one trip, Anna decided to go to another destination and asked me to drive her Mustang convertible back to Humboldt. Every single truck driver and police officer waved and honked at me the whole way back. I never felt more safe. Thank you all. Oh, they're gone. I promise I won't sing, but Anna and I did a duet for Supervisor Harry Pritchard's retirement party in the days when we all worked across party lines. You say either, I say either. You say neither, I say neither. Either, either, neither, neither, let's call the whole thing off. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. So if you like pajamas and I like pajamas, I'll wear pajamas and give up pajamas. Let's call the whole thing off. But, oh, if we call the whole thing off, then we must part. And oh, if we ever part, that might break my heart. And I also send greetings from Moselle Ball, who was the secretary to all of us at the time, who was actually the glue that kept everything together. So I'm grateful to all of you, and I'm grateful to the staff, and I'm grateful to Anna and the other people I worked with. So thanks for this moment.
Is there anyone else in the room that wants to speak in honor of Anna Sparks, former supervisor? This is your time to do it.
We have a couple of her granddaughter and great-granddaughters here.
I'm Kylie Merlin Baker, and Anna Sparks was my great-grandmother. I honestly wish I knew her better, but she was either in Salem, Oregon, or in Mexico. She would come by about once a year when she had time, and take me out to lunch or something, and that was pretty. I really wish I knew her better, but yeah.
Thank you. If there's no one else in the room, I'm going to bring it to, oh, it looks like we do. Don't be afraid to stand up. You don't have to wait till someone stops talking to get up behind them, so.
When you can't stand up very well, sometimes you do. Thanks for putting this on the agenda, y'all. Dennis Mayo, and also here for the California Commercial Beach Fishermen's Association, who I represent and have for many years. What Julie said was pretty spot on and pretty cool, and I agree with that 100%. Anna was just a very unique. She was beautiful from the inside out, and the neat thing about Anna is she knew it. and that made her pretty special too in my book. But I hate your deal in here. My thing won't work, so my presentation, I'm going to have to wing it. So, but I think I just kind of cut to the chase on what was one of the most important things to me, a story that epitomised Anna. We still have a good fishery in Oregon, surf fishing, a very important fishery to the state of California and to our community. And when Redwood National Park came in, they instantly started trying to eliminate that. That was the goal, was to completely eliminate that fishery and get those commercial fishermen off that beach. They damn near succeeded. We protected them in 06 in perpetuity with a bill in Congress. But they closed off Davison Road access. We used to have several accesses. And they closed off the Davison Road access, so many times when you're surf fishing pretty damn late and the tide comes in, you can't get out coming down to the south and get out at the spit. So you could go out Davison Road. Well, they closed that off. And then the guys many times would get stuck at night. They'd have to spend the night. Well, first thing in the morning, here'd come a park officer and he'd write tickets. And if you know anything about that process, if you got a ticket, you had to go for a review. And if they decided to pull your commercial fishing license at that time, you were done forever. So Anna got wind of that, and she tried to do some preliminary stuff. And then she said, well, hell, I'm going to go up there with the boys. So she came up and fished, stayed up there all night. Fish got stuck. And first thing in the morning, here this feller comes. And when she introduced herself to him and said, I'll be seeing you tomorrow in the office with the superintendent, his tune changed. And things changed for our fishermen for a while Anna was there, because she would do that. And so many of those folks have gone on now. They'd be here today if they hadn't. And so I tip my hat to all of them and to Anna. And metaphysically speaking, I hope they're all dipping their nets in the surf and having a bourbon highball. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Is there anyone else in the room? Not seeing anyone else in the room. Is there any hands up online?
I have Supervisor Madrone.
Okay, we'll start with Supervisor Madrone then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Dennis and Julie, and the granddaughter there. Yeah, Anna was a very unique spirit. We all miss her. We thank her for her work. And I will say, in the world of politics, many politicians will swing this way and swing that way, and you're never quite sure where they stand on issues. They seem to blow with the wind. Anna was not that way. Anna was a straight shooter. You knew what you got, and she told you straight up, like Julie said about the T-shirt. So I just want to honor Anna and thank her for all of her decades of community service. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Supervisor Bone?
Yeah, I got the phone call a couple weeks ago, and she was down in Mexico with her husband, and a couple years ago I got to spend some time with her up at the Elks, because they were coming back and they'd stay at the Elks and then head back up to Salem from there. So, like your granddaughter said, half the year in Mexico and half the year up in Salem. But I knew Anna probably 45 years. She got me out of a huge jam one time with the water board. Imagine that. But she worked. The thing was, she worked for the people. She didn't work for a cause. She worked for the people and what she thought was best for her community. And at the time, believe it or not, this was timber and fishing and farming. And she fought relentlessly. I'm pretty sure she did it more than once, but I believe she got the nickname Chainsaw Annie for a rally over in Reading, because she walked out on the truck flatbed in front of 6,000 people at the community center with a chainsaw running. That'll get you a nickname right off the get-go. So, but she was good to work with. I heard a lot of great things. Julie, great stories. Yeah, we don't travel together. Yeah. But I give Connie rides. I'll give Connie rides. But no, she was quite the representative for 12 years and represented her district really, really well. And I know the developer up there named a road after her because she helped him develop some land up there, and that was a great tribute at the time. So she will be missed. She has been missed for the last few years, as her granddaughter said. She didn't let any grass grow under her feet. So you'll always be better for knowing Anna.
All right. Thank you very much. I think, is there any more? All right. We will be adjourning in memory of Anna Sparks today. We will also adjourn in the memory of John Corbett. And if there's anyone here that has something to say about that, and I know that Supervisor Madrone, I think, has something to talk about there. So I'll let Supervisor Madrone kick it off.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you check and see if his wife was able to make it, or if anybody's in the audience today to receive this?
Is there anyone here to receive the John Corbett in memorial? We do have Dennis Mayo here standing up.
I can deliver that to Joan if you'd like.
Okay, we'll work on that. I don't see anyone else raising their hand, Supervisor, so I think it's just you right now.
Okay, that's great. And if the clerk of the board could be sure to get this mailed out, or I'll hand deliver it to his wife. We
Okay.
did make contact with her to let her know it was happening today, but she didn't think she'd be able to make it.
Okay.
John was an amazing person. He not only served on the McKinneyville Community Service District Board for many years, but as the representative for the district, he also served on the MCMAC, was chair of the MCMAC, and John was instrumental in helping the MCMAC get to where it is today as a incredibly high-functioning community advisory board to our board. But he also served on the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board, and just like Anna, so it's interesting how the 5th District has had a number of representatives on that water quality board, from previous Supervisor Ryan Sundberg to, I think he was serving up until very recently, along with Anna Sparks and John Corbett. But John was really quite a force in our community. He was an expert at water and water issues, and will be sorely missed, and we send our condolences to his family. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other supervisors? Supervisor Bone?
Yeah, I remember when Ryan put John on started the McMac, and John was always a good one to talk to. He was great on the water board, had to go down. I remember introducing him to a potential water board member, and they talked for 4 hours. And I mean, John wanted to know, what opportunities lied, and helped the water board immensely. And he was great for the community. As Supervisor Madrone said, I had got word of this again just after Anna's, so it was kind of a double whammy up there. So John will be missed. He was sure a fun guy to talk to, I'll tell you that, though.
All right. And it looks like, Dennis, you want a second bite at the apple. Please be respectful of the time. Thanks.
I could have did it all at the one, I guess. John was also a county supervisor, y'all. I don't know whether that was in the packet. I didn't get a chance to read it. I was so proud that John was my friend and a colleague, but he was also my mentor. I learned so much from John. He and I traveled together a lot, and by the way, our board travels together all the time, so we're always looking to save a buck for our folks. We shared a room when we traveled, but we also shared the front seat of the car many times when we got somewhere after a long drive. And then we'd get up early in the morning, go to the closest gas station restroom, clean ourselves up, and go to the meetings. Fish and Wildlife and State Park, and we worked on the Marine Life Protection Act together tirelessly. And so I got another little story. Several years ago, he and I were invited to the UC Davis Law School graduating class, and they were having a discussion about the Marine Life Protection Act, and Michael Sutton was the guest speaker. Many of you might know Michael Sutton from the Fish and Game for years, and he was also at the Monterey Aquarium and many other big environmental entities. Well, after the discussions and the panels, they started asking questions of students, and they asked John Corbett a question about John Sutton's presentation. And I'm going to tell you, John was meticulous in taking that apart and putting it back together for the protection of the Native communities. They wanted to force the Native communities to tell them everywhere they harvested, what they harvested, why they harvested, and Sutton was the champion of that. And I tell you, after that, the law graduating class students at Davis got up and they applauded John Corbett, and after that, Nobody wanted to talk to anybody for hours except to John Corbett. That's the intellect that that man had. That was the legal, but he didn't have an ego. He wasn't trying to do anything. Later on, he created the Marine Protection Act monitoring enterprise, and then created a project at False Klamath Cove at Wilson Creek, again, to protect native sovereignty, harvesting, etc. And he created a research study that actually changed what they had put in. You don't do that very often on these things. Anyway, in the last 3 weeks, John continued wanting to be of service. He loved what he did. He helped me and a couple other people work on program policy language for some revisions that we need to do. And by golly, several times he said to me, "Dennis, I'm dying, but by God, I'm not dead yet." And he wanted to continue working. God bless you, John.
All right. Thank you for that. I want to say John Corbett definitely had an influence on my career and trajectory for all the many reasons that were enumerated here today. And so I'm grateful that we're adjourning in his name today. One last thing on, I think that a supervisor wanted to bring up on today's consent calendar had to do with a letter of appreciation to Maya Conrad for service on the Humboldt County McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee. I think Supervisor Madrone had something to say about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Many of you know Maya and may know her dog as well, Rowdy. Maya served on the McKinleyville Advisory Committee for 6 years and was a real force behind helping with all the other members of the MCMAC to get the Town Center Ordinance completed. That was a yeoman's task, and they stuck with it. And I just wanted to thank Maya for her incredible dedication to the community of McKinleyville and to community service. And she carries that on now with her dog Rowdy. They're both involved in the Humboldt County search and rescue teams. And it was just, I think, a week or so ago that Maya and Rowdy were able to help find a lost individual up in the forest. And so my hat goes off to Maya and her dog Rowdy. And I know they're going to carry on to do great things. But thank you so much, Maya, for your community service, and Rowdy. And she's also now working with Save the Redwoods League and has had an extinguished career to this point, and I'm sure that will carry on. So thank you very much, Maya.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Arroyo.
I'll just echo that. Maya Conrad has been an incredible influence in our community and continues to be through her search and rescue efforts. And I just really appreciate her thoughtful, effective communication and her courage to say what needs to be said, but also to listen to other people. I think she has a gift in communication, and I've always appreciated that about her. And I also, it's a little out of turn, but I want to say thank you to those who came to speak about Anna Sparks and John Corbett. I didn't know either of them. I had the chance to read about them after their passing, but it's a gift to hear the stories, so thank you.
All right. This is the time when we're going to, if there's any public comment on anything else on the consent calendar that anyone wants to talk about at this moment. Is there any hands raised?
There is no one on Zoom.
All right, we have, this is about consent calendar items?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion to pass the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion.
Great.
I'll second.
There's a second. We're going to do roll call vote because we have a supervisor out of the room. So, Kaylee, could you take it away?
Thank you, Chair. Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Bone?
Yep.
Chair Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Great. That ends the consent calendar part of the agenda. We're going to move past items pulled from consent because there was nothing pulled from consent. So we're going to move to public comment on non-agenda items. This is your time to speak to items that are not on the agenda. We're going to start with hands raised on Zoom. Do we have anything there?
There is none, Chair.
All right, moving to folks in the room. This is your time. And you have 3 minutes.
Yes, I'm Thomas Anonymous. And I wanted just to let you know that graffiti is not art. Most of the time it's hate crime and it's gang related. So I didn't have time to, you'll get these at the next meeting. You could probably recognize the people hanging, okay? And then you might be surprised, this is probably done on Moonstone Beach by drone. And I am kind of like the real Ethan Hunt. So I'm blowing my cover here today. I create missions that are dangerous. And because of 38 days of stakeout for free near the Pink Lady Carson Mansion, I was also foot patrol at sunrise, and the weapon I carried was a flashlight. Okay, this is bright as the sun. The suspects that assaulted me were under heavy influence of drugs, and they could look directly in this flashlight. Okay, the confrontation with the suspect arsonist, where I was assaulted, put this up the very next day, which is code, be on the lookout. The Sheriff's Department or the EPD has been able to tell me what the code on both sides. I would assume it means kill him. Drug dealers were the most intense, and so I quit after 38 days. I have a neighbor upstairs that wants to kill me. I have not had help. This is going on for over 2 months. Sheriffs have been to our location 4 times. He was under the influence of drugs. He could look at this at night. It was the best interrogation, interrogation. He confessed to putting a screw in the back of my SUV. I had 10 pounds of air on the highway, which could have caused a serious accident. He mentioned, I didn't know this, he mentioned he put something in the gas tank of my vehicle, went back at ring, most likely it's water from a hose. He put his hat over the ring and then went back to rub off his hands. So I need help. I won't be here much longer if somebody doesn't help me with my neighbor upstairs. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Joanne McGarry, and as you know, I come here often to talk about 3 things that aren't on the agenda, but that are on my mind, and something that I want to be on your mind as we proceed through our living in this beautiful county of Humboldt. And the first thing I want to remind you is I spoke up at a previous meeting about fireworks and how maybe we need to revisit how we celebrate, because a friend of mine in Davis goes out to the countryside, and he's been posting beautiful photographs of the fireworks explosion that took place there. Maybe it was a year and a half ago, out in Esparto, and he was showing the wreckage of that tragedy, and it just makes me think that San Francisco and other places do incredible light shows. Actually, I'm not a big fan anymore of drones as a replacement for fireworks for a variety of reasons, but I do think we, as a community that cares about the environment and in a climate changing world, and the harm, the great harm that fireworks actually do to our community and to people and to animals, whether they're domestic animals or wild animals, we really need to revisit this concept. So I want to ask that you start thinking about alternatives to fireworks in our county. Second thing is the animal shelter. I worked for 16 years in San Francisco at the SPCA, And I know that our animal shelter is constantly being brought up as having great needs and challenges. And I had also spoken up about the concept of a potential spay-neuter ordinance in our community, but also now I'm thinking we really need to, people care about animals in this community. I watch it all the time on social media. And I think we need to start looking at something like maybe a bond issue for improving our animal shelter and its work. And, you know, volunteers, people are applauding volunteers for the Sheriff's Department. There's some incredible volunteers up at the animal shelter, and they're experiencing some challenges now. So I think it should be a really important focus for our county to think about that. So in 28 seconds, the last thing I want to have explained how we proceed from here with the Climate Action Plan. I know you approved it a few meetings ago. What's going to happen, and when's this committee going to be formed, and when are we going to actually do the action? So thank you very much for letting me speak at this time.
All right. Is there anyone else to speak on non-agenda items? Seeing none, I believe we're moving into department reports, if I'm not mistaken. And the first one is Department of Health and Human Services Administration presentation on housing and homelessness.
Robert Ward, Health and Human Services.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Okay.
One moment.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chair Wilson and Supervisors. Connie Beck, Health and Human Services Director. I'm here today with Robert Ward, and he is going to do a presentation on our homeless and housing coalition and just some new stuff that's going on. So we do have a couple other people in the audience that will come up and share additional information around Care Court and SB 43 at about the end of the presentation. So thank you. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you. Robert Ward, Housing and Assistance Coordinator with DHHS. Do we have the, thank you. Okay. So we're going to start talking about the HUD Continuum of Care program. This is the largest federal funding program for homelessness. We've got $1.2 million for October 26 through September 27. This funding is renewable annually through a national competition. There's been some news that's changed some of the information that's on this slide. So they released a new notice of funding opportunity in November when the plan had been to essentially automatically renew the funding for 26-27. Locally, 91% of this funding pays for permanent housing. Oops, wrong way. So our permanent supportive housing that's HUD funded currently supports about 70 households consisting of about 80 people on any given night. There's also some funding for the homeless management information system and the coordinated entry system. So the November NOFO would have put a 30% cap on permanent housing, requiring us to shift the remaining 61% or so into probably transitional housing, maybe street outreach. In the past, we were guaranteed 90% of our funding would be automatically renewed. The new rules would cut that down to 30% being automatically renewed, which shifts a large portion of the funding into a nationally competitive pool and opens the door potentially for shifting a lot of money from some communities to other communities. And the NOFO would have given HUD the right to reject applicants that previously or currently embraced policies that facilitate racial preferences or engaged in activities that violate the sex binary in humans. Okay, but we've had some good news since then. On December 23rd, there was a preliminary injunction that ordered HUD to pause that notice of funding opportunity. And then on, essentially the order requires HUD to go back to the Biden era plan. So on January 9th, just this last week, they reopened the NOFO. So if there's, if some special circumstances apply, you might need to file some new applications. But we're going to have a meeting with the Continuum of Care on, let's see, tomorrow. And we're going to talk about whether we want to request that all of our grants be automatically renewed. I suspect that's what the Continuum of Care Board is going to want to do. So we're not actually going to have to respond to this reopened NOFO other than to say that we'd like to renew our funding. All right, and moving on to state funding. The HHAP program, or Homeless Housing and Assistance and Prevention Program, HHAP, is the largest vehicle for state funding for homelessness. And starting in 2019, the state's allocated $4.7 billion through this program to large cities, counties, and continuums of care. The state allocated $0 in the 25-26 budget. We have been promised $500 million in a seventh round of HHAP. That's been, I forget if it's been allocated but not appropriated, or if it's the other way around. But that's what the legislation says right now. The January budget from Governor Newsom did mention that $500 million is planned, which is a little weaker than what we've heard before about it being promised. But the staff have been in meetings and have told us this is happening. $500 million is coming. We're currently still in the process of trying to get our application approved for the HHAP Round 6, which our share of that is about $3.7 million. This chart shows the allocations to the county and the COC from the HHAP program going back to 2019. We don't yet know what the breakdown is going to be for round 7. The share of this funding that comes to our county is based entirely on our share of the statewide point-in-time count, which, by the way, is coming up on Friday next week, and we very much need many more volunteers for that. If anybody wants to volunteer, by the way, you can email us at hhc@co.humboldt.ca.us for more information. All right, so then we have a breakdown of just how the HHAP 1 and 2 awards have been distributed among various providers. We do request for proposals each time we have a new round of this funding to select, the highest or most cost-effective projects. There are HHAP 5 awards. This is, there's a whole, about almost half the funding that stays in-house with county programs, by the way. And we have our progress over the years that you've seen this before, just the growth in dedicated permanent housing units. We're trying to leverage the units that exist that are privately owned in the community using rental assistance, but that hasn't been enough. We also need some dedicated physical housing stock, and we've had great success expanding that since 2015. And here's just a list of the projects and where the units are. Okay, and that's the end of my section of the presentation.
Robert, could we get those slides later?
Yes.
After this? Thank you.
Paul Bugnacki is also going to join us to talk about SB 43 and Care Court, and just really an update on what's happening with SB 43 and how we're doing in Care Court, because Humboldt seems to be doing very well with Care Court implementation, and Care Court participants are starting to be referred to our housing program, so that's why we're talking about it here.
Thank you, Connie. Senate Bill 43, in essence, expands the definitions for grave disability under the 5150 criteria in welfare and institution codes. So this expansion was a bit controversial because the criteria for expansion and the possible treatment options that stem from that created some dilemmas throughout the state, because the state does not have the infrastructure to support those types of holds that would be written for individuals with a severe substance use disorder, only grave disability. So our county proposed to delay the implementation. And during that time of the delay, we undertook a work group or a committee that was compiled of a cross-section of interested community organizations such as hospitals, police departments, law enforcement, substance use disordered organizations. So we had close to 40 or 50 individuals that participated in this work group that we met monthly. And the idea was to create some pathways to treatment for individuals that may have a severe SUD hold placed on them once we go live, which we went live January 1st. So we're almost 2 weeks in now. The community has been amazing coming together on a monthly basis and problem solving how we're going to approach serving individuals that could be placed on holds. The substance use disordered community, including Crossroads, Waterfront, HRC, and others, really developed a pathway to treatment locally, but not for those that are on legal holds. There are no facilities in California where somebody detained on a legal hold can go and get mandated treatment, nor is it empirically supported in the data around the efficacy of mandated SUD treatment. So our approach really is to focus in on the individual and developing a relationship with those individuals to help them to get to a place where they are voluntarily willing to go into treatment. And we've created pathways for that treatment here locally. We've had one hold written so far, an individual on an SUD hold. Most counties aren't seeing a lot of holds written for these individuals because of the reasons that I've outlined. So we're going to continue to meet. We're going to continue to problem solve as we engage in this new expansion of the LPS Act. And I'm really pleased that our county's coming together to come up with solutions and to find pathways for individuals to get care on a voluntary basis. So that's SB 43. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Bone? Have we, and I sent it to Connie today, have we had a chance to look into what happened in San Francisco yesterday with the mayor and one of the senators passing a bill or attempting to pass a bill for court-ordered mental health treatment? And it's great to voluntary, but voluntary hasn't been very successful. I mean, and I know we spend a lot of money on administration of these programs, but, and I'm just speaking from what I hear from people, why aren't we doing something about the homeless? Because they tend to be transient on 4th and 5th Street, and a lot of the door jams are still pretty well packed. I mean, we still have 3 guys sleeping in the little area by Chase Bank every day. So is there a way, are we looking into the court order and see how they're doing it? Because we might have to be a little bit more, instead of voluntary, to bring some of these people into compliance or into a treatment where they're not on the being a cost on the outside, less of a cost inside being treated. I don't know.
I'm not familiar and ready to speak to what happened in San Francisco yesterday. I will take a look at that and review that and consider that. I will say that Care Court, this is really what Care Court is set up for. So people can petition to have somebody go into, it's not a criminal court, it's civil court. And we've spent the better part of a year leading up to Care Court in preparation for implementation with our court system and our other interested parties and affected programs. And I think that is been utilized for individuals like that you're speaking to. So we have a website on our behavioral health website, county website, as well as the Superior Court has a website up with instructional videos and helpful links about how to petition to have somebody engage in care court. Our county has stood out, as Connie had mentioned, above other counties based on the numbers of petitions that we've put forward, the community's put forward, and they're really interested in what we're doing and how we're doing it. So in fact, County Council, Heather Durand and I and others were in Sacramento and spoke on a panel about that. You know, I think that we need to try all options that we have available to us and avenues that we have available to us. And I think that is a voluntary program, but I think that that could be effective for some people.
And I know we gave, I think some of the funding for the city of Eureka went to the pallet housing or the housing down on Hillficker. Do we have personnel there overseeing the monies that have been spent and the success or not so much success of that facility?
You know, we're in contact with the city staff on that project. You know, they're contributing data to the homeless management information system. So I was just looking at some of their data. So we know it's an operating project. We know how many people they're housing, how many they're housing.
Have we physically gone down and looked at it and been involved in it? I mean, that kind of money, I'd like to see it have a little bit more follow-up, or maybe not. Maybe it's not allowed.
I've been down to take a look before it opened. I haven't been by since personally to do any inspections. On the San Francisco thing, I just wanted to say that, you know, they're supporting statewide legislation. They haven't passed it yet. So that's something that your board could consider supporting as well.
Right. Are you responding still to Supervisor Bone?
Yes, I'd
Okay.
just like to add one more piece of the information. The article that you shared with me, I did share with staff. I don't think that everyone had a chance to look at it yet. I do just want to say, though, that it sounds like their crisis triage center and other services that are being provided there are assisting some of the positive treatment that's happening there. And I'd just like to remind you that we are working on the crisis triage center in Arcata. It is due to open, supposed to be June 2027, and it looks like probably later on in the year. And then also the navigation center, which will assist people also in getting services that are needed. So we are doing a lot. I know it feels like it's not fast enough, but we are doing a lot.
And I would just add one more thing to what Connie was saying with the care court for individuals that are experiencing homelessness. We've created a pathway to access some of the projects that we have in place: Pine Hill, Bayview, Rio Dell, River Bluff. And giving those individuals priority to those open housing options that are there if needed. So we've created that pathway there. So we're doing our best to find ways to get individuals housed and also into treatment. We've expanded the MIST team as well to respond to mobile crisis events around the county, and we're continuing to work with local law enforcement on responses to needs in the community.
To the chair, yeah, I do appreciate all the work that's being done, but I've got to ask the questions that are asked of me on a pretty much regular basis when we go out, and I'm sure the other members of the board going, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I think it's very important that people hear what we're doing, because there's a lot of effort on a problem, and I always say it, we're never going to fix it. All we can do is make it better. It's just going to be an issue with mental health and economy and the economy of scale and what is going on, all the way around. So, I mean, I appreciate all the efforts, but it's a question that gets asked on it's always number 1 or 2 on the hit list when people ask what bothers you about Humboldt County. So that's why we need to address it. So I appreciate it.
Supervisor Arroyo?
Thank you. I just, you went through the stats quickly, which was, I know, we weren't asking questions about it, but I do just want to lift up how many people we are housing in permanent supportive housing, which is so critical to our community. And while we do, we've talked about this before, but while we do still see people who are out on the street, we have many dozens of people who are in longer term housing because of programs that are resource intensive, because that supportive component is just requires so much time and energy. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for highlighting that in your presentation. I wanted to get back to this idea about consent being required and participation of the patient being required to enact, to do, like, especially medication-based treatment for substance abuse or a mental health condition. And, when I think about it, I think of if someone against their will was being, like, injected with something, or it was being put in their mouth and they're forced to swallow, I can't imagine a humane way to do that if the person is not consenting. And perhaps there are emergency scenarios where that has to happen, and I just don't, I'm not privy to that because I'm not in the medical sector really. But it sounds extremely ethically complex and potentially dangerous for our staff. So I hadn't really thought about the aspects of care court and that still being a step that people need to take themselves as adults, consenting adults, even if they have a severe substance use or mental health condition. And so I appreciate you highlighting that, because I think I at least think of care court as like, well, the judge says they have to, so they're gonna do it. And there's a point at which that just isn't. There's not an ethical way to get past that lack of consent, right? Is there anything else about that would be helpful for us to know, just in understanding the sort of mandated treatment that some of these programs might be referring to?
Well, this is a complex area, and I would say there's only a few areas where forced medications could be applied. The jail, when there's a court order, or in an emergency when somebody's being a danger to themselves or to somebody else. So the other place is at a designated locked facility such as Supervisors. And then there's others where that could happen in emergency departments, again, for the protection of somebody's physical well-being. So very, very challenging situations to manage, but it's also very limited where those things could be applied. So with regards to care court, there is no provision for mandated treatment, especially injectables or any type of medication treatment. That is consensual. And I would say the same thing is true for the SUD component too. We know that forced medication for addiction is not supported empirically by research data. We know that there's differences between mental health conditions such as schizophrenia compared to an intermittent substance use disorder, severe substance use addiction, where there is not the same type of response to medications as you would have in a psychiatric condition such as schizophrenia, where you're targeting certain thought patterns and disorders. Substance use, you're dealing with something completely different. And the response is really different too with regards to medications. So I would say they're not apples to apples, and they're very different scenarios and situations. You're dealing with a substance use disorder. You're hoping for intrinsic change that's motivated from within the individual versus extrinsic, which is not supported by empirical data that is an evidence-based practice. So it's not indicated. And I think there's a lot of structure that we put around that right now with SB 43 to evaluate and to work with the individual on a voluntary basis versus and having pathways for where they're willing to do that rather than any kind of forced medication-assisted treatment for substance use disorder. That's
And are you noticing that the SB 43, process, is that helping people more than what you were doing before? Are there cases where it's like that's making a real difference for people?
Well, it's early, but
Yeah.
I would say no currently at this point.
That's kind of what I thought might be the case. Because they still have to be a participant. So if they're ordered to do it, they still have to get on the track.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we want to try the least restrictive avenue as possible. And care court is one of those least restrictive, where we can try care court. And there has been some positive response from individuals that are participating in care court around engagement in treatment, on ongoing treatment and care, which has been great. Whether that's the black robe effect or Judge Canning's ability to connect with people, which is powerful and effective, and kind and compassionate, I'll also add. We'll have to see. We're paying close attention to how things are going in care court, and the state's also paying close attention. We've got regular data reports going to the state, and people are watching. They want to know if it's working.
It's great to hear that. Incidentally, about Judge Canning, we don't, the judges are elected too, but we interface with them pretty infrequently. So I don't know if it would be a good opportunity to thank Judge Canning for participating in something that is new and unprecedented, and I'd like to do that. So maybe we can talk more about that.
Yeah.
Great. I think Supervisor Madrone has some comments or questions, and then we still have one more presenter. Is that right, or is this your entire staff today? Okay, great. Supervisor Madrone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first I want to start out by saying thank you to all of the staff at DHHS, those that are here today, and those that are out in the field doing all the hard work that you do. The programs you provide are just amazing. I think the success of Care Court is a real testament to the hard work and dedication, compassion, and things of everybody involved in the system, from Judge Canning all the way on down to the workers in the field that are helping with all these programs. So thank you for that. I don't think enough can be said. And as Supervisor Bones said, I don't think the committee realizes how much we are doing. And as he also said, the problem isn't going to go away, but we can make it better. And these programs certainly are a huge piece of trying to help make it better. And given that this is a conversation on the agenda today about housing and homelessness, I just wanted to say that I very much look forward to the results of the ad hoc committee that we formed recently that will be working with DHHS, and also hopefully many of the providers in the community, from RCAA to Arcata House to Betty Chin and AHA and others, in regards to the compassionate assistance ad hoc setup. And we all see so many people still out on the streets, and that's what's visible to the community. They don't see all these other programs and the housing that we provided. So maybe a little more outreach, I don't know, press releases, different things that can really help make those programs more visible, because what people see is people in the doorways, in Eureka in particular, but also in McKinleyville, Arcata, et cetera. So I look forward to the work of that ad hoc. And, you know, when you drive over to the elections office off of 7th Street, there, you'll note that there is an area, a plateau area that's high and dry above the wetlands there. That's actually surplus property owned by Caltrans. And I know this would probably be a City of Eureka Caltrans project, but maybe the county can be a partner. There's always camps that end up there. Right now, there's a couple that have been dissolved, and there's garbage everywhere, of course, every time. And it just seems like with all the work we've done to create these ordinances to allow for safe camping areas, safe parking areas and stuff, that certainly would be a high candidate for possibly a sanctioned camp. Of course, that takes resources and money, I realize that. But there could easily be 20 camps or more up on that terrace, fenced in with 24/7, you know, support systems, a place where we could bring, you know, assistance for drug abuse and mental health and other issues, which are so hard to bring to the streets or to the forest, where a lot of them end up trying to survive. And I think a lot of the reason why these folks don't get into housing is because they have a dog, or they have other substance use disorders and things like that. So that transitionary stage of a sanctioned camping area, I know it costs a lot of money that may or may not be available. I realize that's a big part of why this is continuing to occur in our communities. But I just really want to put that out there. I look forward to the work of the ad hoc in regards to continuing to extend our compassion and assistance. So thank you for all the work that you do. Appreciate it.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. I also want to echo my colleagues' sentiments and say that, you know, in the southern Humboldt or my district area, we have a large population of folks that there aren't a lot of services available down there, and DHHS has made sure to, first of all, Robert, thank you, and everyone, to respond to my inquiries, and then to offer and help with such groups as Show down there to house folks, and then also to get with Redwood Rural and their the grant program that they have been working with to get folks rehoused up here and to get them services. It is a struggle, and I recognize what Supervisor Arroyo is saying about court-ordered and compliance, which also is a true statement about just in general when you approach someone on and ask them if they need help, and if they refuse, there's not a lot you can do. And a lot of folks, when they say help them, get them off the streets, what can we do for them, don't understand that they have the right to say no, and that some folks just want to be homeless, and trying to work with what you can within the confines of how much you can help them and how much you can't. And so that's a struggle. I know that your departments recognize things that need to be done, but then don't get that compliance for folks. And so it's frustrating on both ends. I want to say thank you for the continued, it's hard work, it's draining work, and I really want to thank you guys for the continued support for Humboldt County.
Okay, we're going to open this up to public comment. Do we have any?
Yes, Chair.
Online?
Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Kent Swatsky. We had a power outage here, so I was not able to participate into this particular topic. Things are not getting better no matter what we're doing in Humboldt County, as far as I can tell. We're living. We have some systemic problems in a lot of the world, but a lot of it's failed family, multi-generational backing, safety nets for people, which can't be supplemented. Now, I know there have been certain money that was clawed back or be discontinued, and certain courts rule that it has to go back into effect. It goes for a while, but I think long-term wise, some of those things will be decided by the Supreme Court. Other things will be funded in other manners. I'm not optimistic that you will have continued funding either from the state or the federal government. That's the trend. People I talked to about all kinds of grants they thought were possible a little while ago. State grants, federal grants, all grants are basically drying up. and this is not going to bode well. Unfortunately, there are people, and I understand that we have a very permissive society where you can go ahead and refuse treatment, refuse to have things. You're not able to be forced to be doing certain things that are in your best self-interest. And as long as that's with this, and we enable people by giving them, I guess you'd say, the carrots, go without any other repercussion or any qualifiers to those, or they're provided necessities if they want, but they don't have to make decisions to voluntarily do the meds they need to do. Certain people have to have the meds. If they don't, they're not going to get better. It's a very major problem. I think you're going to find that the HHS will continue to dry up, and funding will continue to be limited, and that's what the future bodes. So thank you for the opportunity to speak on this particular topic, and best of luck.
Any other online?
That's all online.
Okay, they're in the house today now.
Hi, my name's Joanne McGarry, and I appreciate listening and learning a lot about the opportunities and the challenges that the county faces and those in the DHHS department are facing with the homeless and housing issue. I keep hearing about different models in different cities, primarily San Antonio, and I haven't been able to dig deep and dive deep into knowing if their consolidated neighborhood project in San Antonio is really, really successful, but it's consolidating services of all types in one area of the city, which, you know, when I first learned about the Kmart property becoming available, I thought, gosh, what a great location that would be for consolidating services for homelessness and housing and other social services. So I've been helping one individual who for many reasons doesn't fit into the boxes a lot, because that person does not have substance abuse issues nor mental illness, but has cognitive issues and fortunately has veteran status. But again, in my effort to help this one person who was living in a car and no longer is doing that, but it's definitely a step better than what it was existing for that person, but it's not good for that person currently. And I'm just wondering how we can really do better than just kind of providing generic type of housing for people when some people need something a little bit different. I'm just going to share that I am on a subsidized rental assistance program and applied for Section 8 vouchers, and it was stopped right before I qualified, and I'm now 1,177 on a list for housing. But one of the conditions of my current rental subsidy through the city of Arcata is that I have to live alone. And that's also some interesting concept, because not everybody benefits by living alone. And so we got to take into consideration a lot of these things. But if somebody knows something about the San Antonio model or other things, I really think we could benefit by what others are doing that are maybe successful. And, you know, a sanctioned camp, good. And animals, big, huge issue. Animals, a big, huge issue. How we can, you know, mitigate that for a lot of people, because animals are number one for a lot of people. And that allows them to wallow in the current system. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that wants to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back. I'll ask staff if they have any clarifying comments or anything you guys want to add to this conversation.
I would just like to remind everyone around the PIT count. I know that Robert had mentioned that the point in time count is next Friday, and to volunteer for that. We do need more volunteers and to volunteer for that. Robert will say what the what the email is, but also Robert has one thing that he wants to talk about, the NOFO, so I need to let him do that too.
This is the time to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, right. The email address, if you want to volunteer again, is hhhc@co.humboldt.ca.us. And so I heard, we have hundreds of people in supportive housing. I think maybe I heard somebody say dozens. It's actually hundreds, but we have dozens that are supported by HUD. So yeah, if it weren't for all of those efforts, things on the streets would be much worse. And the people that get into those programs are typically the people with the most severe needs. So you would, be most visibly out on the streets, experiencing substance use disorder and mental illness. So with the next continuum of care NOFO, like I said, this happens every single year. We are expecting them to try this again, essentially to shift, we don't know, but some large percentage of the funding out of supportive housing and into new transitional housing programs, which will have very strict service participation requirements and strict limits on length of stay. Problem with the limits on length of stay is if people don't get jobs where they can earn enough money to pay the rent, they're not going to have a successful exit, and then the whole process just repeats. And it's just, you have to earn a lot of money to pay the rent around here lately. So it's there we are.
Great. I'll just limit my comments to, a huge factor in this is just our national issue around wealth inequality. I just have to really say it very clearly. I mean, and it also part of one of the things that wealth inequality drives is the consolidation of housing as assets, which basically is causing a lot of housing to go basically vacant in many, many places. And so while we have an issue around the development of new housing, we also just have higher vacancy rates than we've had. And that includes even just less people living in housing, and as was sort of mentioned. And so that really is part of that. The pressure of the cost of housing is a huge factor in this. And we can talk about mental health issues, and we can talk about those other issues, but getting people into housing that exists today is becoming more difficult. And I also want to reference the federal administration's move away from supportive housing is I think going to be hugely negatively impactful on this situation. It's really hard for me to imagine why anyone would want to move away from that, considering that really is the way to address these issues in the best way that we can. I want to say that part of the success in the programs that we do have is in what you don't see. We sometimes forget that there are many people housed or receiving services. We don't see that. What we see are the people not housed and not receiving services. And so I want to emphasize that it's just really important to remember that there is a huge amount of success out there. There's a huge amount of challenges, but I really don't want to miss that. And I also want to emphasize that the trajectory of working on this locally has been really amazing, considering the rural nature of this community and the resource challenges that we have. The fact that we're looking at the building of a new triage center, and a navigation center moving forward, and a new Semper Virens, and we're have a trajectory of really working on these things, and of course, until we address the bigger issue, which is wealth inequality in this nation, which is just fundamental to these issues, we're going to see a lot of these challenges. I mean, it's just hard to see a struggle to do this when you see multi-billion-dollar yachts. It's just difficult to watch, and we need to be cognizant of that, and it's real. And I just want to bring it back to those who want to help in the immediate. Again, reach out to Department of Health and Human Services in terms of the point in time count that's coming. And if I'm hearing that there are volunteers that are needed, so I'm going to give you one more shot at letting us know when that is, what it is, and where people can get that, and then we're going to close out with a vote. So there you go.
Yeah, so just one more time, please email us at hhhc@co.humboldt.ca.us. It's going to be Friday morning. We'll start around sunrise, around 7:30. Folks will deploy from Arcata, Eureka, Fortuna, Southern Humboldt, and then some smaller teams in the East County. It'll take, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours for each team to cover their zone. And then you're done. You come back to your deployment center, turn in any incentives you haven't used, and that's it. And we will be asking people to attempt to do interviews. If somebody doesn't want to do an interview, you'll just mark an observation tally.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion to receive and file this report.
So moved. Second.
Great. Did Supervisor Madrone have anything else to say, or can we move to a vote? All right. Looking for a roll call vote, please, Kaylee.
Supervisor Bone? Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Chair Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Great. We have one more item, and I just want to check with everybody. Is the board feeling like we can move on to the next one? All right, we're going to do that. This one is being brought to us by, and thank you guys, thank you staff, and thank you Connie and everybody. This is a presentation brought to us by Supervisor Madrone with an update regarding broadband in Humboldt County. And Supervisor Madrone, are you prepared to give us a little bit of or start that conversation?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So once again, we've got Connie Stewart here and, excuse me, a bunch of the partners that she works with to give us a broadband and connectivity update. And I just want to say thank you, Connie, and all of you out there that are working to help our communities become more connected. And I know the tribes have been a major partner in the role in doing this up in the north and northeast part of the county. But Connie and her partners will give us all the updates. I just simply thought that it would be a good time to give updates. I think we all as supervisors get questions all the time about where we're at on all this, and so take it away, Connie and team.
All right, this goes to you, Connie.
Thank you so much, Chair Wilson, and thank you, Board of Supervisors, for having us here today. I'm Connie Stewart, Executive Director of Initiatives at Cal Poly Humboldt. My internet is a little unstable today, so if you can't hear me, I'll jump back on and off. I'm here to first tell you what's been happening, and then I'm going to tell you about an exciting new program that we're launching to get actually the fiber that we've been putting in this community to everyone's doorstep. And so, first of all, let's talk about the journey and where we have come from really quickly. Boy, I started this journey in 2005 with many of you to try to get broadband to our community. And if all of you remember, I know I look like a ghost. I apologize. Like I said, my internet's having problems today. Many of you will remember Tina Narrett, who did the original reports to really determine that before we could work on last mile, we really needed to make sure that we worked on middle miles throughout the region. And the idea of those middle miles was to be able to have them what's called open access, be able to have any provider buy into those lines to deliver high-speed internet at a reasonable cost to people in Humboldt County. We set out to do several middle miles, 299, 101, what we called the Y, which was kind of the Bald Hills Road and tribal regions to the east of us, and then also down the coast of Highway 1 as well, because at the time we were working closely with Mendocino, and then across Highway 36. Well, I'm pleased to report that all of the middle miles that we had envisioned in that plan so long ago are now either built or funded and on the way to being built. So that it's taken a long time. We've met many providers on the way that have not been able to do it because they're challenging builds throughout our region. But all of those middle miles are funded. And now we get to turn to the really fun part of trying to figure out how to get this actually to your home at a reasonable price. And so, we've also made a lot of progress on that as well. And I want to start out by giving congratulations to HUPA, which recently was awarded, and I actually have to look down at the amount because it's so astounding. Oh, it's almost $40 million to provide last mile along 299 and in Willow Creek. And so you're probably seeing Acorn trucks or glass root trucks out there building along those areas. I really want to also let everyone know that most of the builds that are happening with last mile, all of the providers have agreed to low-cost plans for our low-cost members and plans that are $75 for the rest of us. So all of those plans are coming at a reasonable price, and that's partially because they're subsidized builds. I also want to give a big shout out to the Yurok tribe, which has 4 projects that they're currently working on, north from Klamath to Crescent City, and then also east plans. Let me see. I wrote this down because there's so many. Okay, Oric North, Oric to Wichipec, Wichipec to Watuk, and I can't read my writing on the 4th plan. But as you can see, there's just a lot of stuff happening around broadband in some of our most remote communities. We also have 299, and just so you know, we're starting to hook last mile to 299. The university, I have been able to get dark fiber on 299 to study earthquakes in the region. So we're doing seismic studies at Cal Poly for that. And then we also have the offshore. Fiber to Singapore is live. Cal Poly is a partner with other research institutions on that offshore fiber as well. So those are really a lot of what you're doing. And if you live in the Humboldt Bay Area, you're probably seeing trucks running around. But what about other areas of the county? When we started this project in 2005, we made a pledge for ubiquitous broadband. Like, we would not stop working until every community had broadband options. And I'm committed to that, and so are my partners that are on the call now. And if you could put up the PowerPoint, well, before you do, let me introduce them. From Brightscape, we have Susan Bolton and Brian Court. And then also from Cal Poly Humboldt, we have somebody who will have a last name that's familiar to many of you, Chris Crandall, who just moved back to Humboldt County and is working in the region as our Community Connect coordinator. We have a full-time person on the ground to help get last mile going here. So if you wouldn't mind putting our PowerPoint up now, we'll take you briefly through this. And you can go ahead. We're going to talk about an effort we have to get broadband to some of our most remote communities or our small communities. This project is in conjunction and thanks to a grant from USDA's Broadband Technical Assistance Fund. And I'll let Brian take over with the next slide.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Court. I'm the Senior Director of Technical Operations for Brightscape Network and the principal Brightscape person on this project. I've been doing broadband network engineering and development for over 25 years. Most of that time has been with Scenic, which, if you don't know, is the network services provider for K through 20 education and libraries in California. So I joined that organization in the late 90s as a founding employee. I sometimes joke that we didn't do employee numbers, but if we did, mine would have been 3. I spent my career building and operating the network that provides services for education, libraries, research, et cetera, in California. And more recently, I've moved to a spin-off organization on Brightscape Networks. Slide, please. Brightscape is a subsidiary of Scenic. When the state of California funded the middle mile broadband network, they turned to Scenic to be the third-party administrator, which would do network design, network implementation for that network. For about 4 years, a team of people from Scenic and from the commercial telecommunications world, as well as other spaces, have come together to build this extraordinary network and to help make sure that it gets used. So we have been working with communities to figure out how to connect them to the network. We've helped to steer the network to be what the communities need it to be within the constraints of the funding available. And our mission is and continues to be what Connie just described, to bring broadband to everywhere in California, and in particular in Humboldt County. Slide, please. So working with Cal Poly, we were awarded $1 million from the United States Department of Agriculture to begin working on getting this connectivity to the most needy, or the communities in Humboldt and Trinity counties that need it most. It's important to understand that the purpose of the grant is not to provide broadband per se, both because that's not what the USDA was funding and because $1 million isn't nearly enough money to do that. But what we expect to do is to be able to tee up each of these communities for success in future funding rounds. When these funding opportunities come along, they often have a very short time frame. It's often very difficult for communities to apply successfully for these opportunities because the upfront planning hasn't been done. That's what we believe we can offer these communities, is we can work in conjunction with the experts on the ground, the community leaders, the people who know these communities backwards and forwards, to provide near shovel-ready plans, so that as funding opportunities do become available, all of the legwork has been done and we'll have information ready to plug into those applications and unlock that funding. Connie, do you want to talk a little bit about what communities are involved here and why they're involved?
Can't hear you, Connie.
You're on mute, Connie.
I'm on mute. Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry. Could you go to the next slide, please? How did these communities get picked? Just so you know, they're picked because USDA has a requirement of what size community and what income community that we can work with. So if you don't see your community on here, it's not that we don't care about your community, it's that these communities qualified for the grant. So as you can tell, they're in several of your districts. Alder Point, Benbow, Miranda, Myers Flat, Oric, Petrolia, Phillipsville, Red Crest, Shelter Cove, Weot, and Willow Creek. And so these communities, we will be on the ground. Chris is getting in this car and driving there, and we would really like to make sure that you know supervisors to please invite us to any events in your communities, or if there are people that have been asking you about service, get us their name and contact. We want to talk to them. We want to know about their experiences. And we want also to have them be community leaders for this project to help us meet people who want broadband. one of the critical things about getting service to people's doors is providers who are providing it need operation and maintenance money. And so we have to develop a case. And that case allows us to say there is enough money in these communities to pay for viable services. And that's what we are going to be talking to those communities. And we're also going to be talking to them about how the pathways for service should be. If they've got a water tower, many people are not willing to allow you to use their right-of-ways, or we need the community to talk to that neighbor about helping with right-of-way issues or whatever. So that's the kind of work we're literally doing on the ground to get these plans shovel ready. I have a recent story with a provider who was going to a Portuguese neighborhood, right? And they're knocking on the door saying, we want to bring you broadband, and nobody's opening the door. And so we said, let's go to Portuguese Hall. And that's how we can say, and meet people and get broadband, and now that community is getting service. So those are the kind of activities that we need to do in these specific communities, really on the ground. So please invite Chris, and he will get in the car and drive to, and we also love him if you have time to drive him around and have him meet key people in the community. And if you're one of those key community members listening, we're about to give you information on how to contact Chris and talk to him about your needs and your broadband needs. Okay, next slide, back to Brian.
Next slide. Yes, thank you. Actually, we're going to talk about timelines now, so I'm going to ask Susan to speak to that.
Yes, hi. My name is Susan Bolton, and I'm considered the Swiss Army knife of our team. I have worked with many different organizations specializing in community outreach and engagement, and so I'm here to talk to you about the USDA BTA grant timeline. As you can see from the first to 12 months, so the first year, we're going to be doing the community needs assessment, and this is where Chris Crandall comes into play, hitting the ground running with meeting with communities to identify the community leaders and the organizations and facilities that we could partner up with. The next steps will be to develop a survey that we would hope to get meaningful feedback and data from the community members, and then to analyze that data. The next phase would be the broadband expansion strategies, which we are currently starting to map current and potential strategies and some fiber opportunities, and then to tailor actionable broadband strategies for each community. And so, as Brian spoke to earlier, and as Connie has mentioned, that we are creating customized individual community shovel-ready strategies and plans that would help support the next phase, which would be the grant application support packages. And these are plans and technical shovel-ready designs that you could present and, as Connie mentioned, make a case study to pitch to these providers, as well as to potentially write other grants. We are also offering to direct these communities for grant opportunities. And then we will go to the next slide, which will turn back over to Brian.
So the intended outcome here is 23 communities, 23 plans, detailed plans with budgets that are available for use in grant applications, as well as beginning introducing the dialogue between the providers. We have relationships with most of the commercial providers in California, and our intent is to open up those conversations and get them to understand, as a result of the data we'll collect during the survey, that there is a business case for doing this, and there's even more of a business case if there's funding for the one-time costs of doing the initial build. So our expectation is that at the end of this grant period, it's a 2-year grant, that we'll have packages ready for each of the 23 communities, and we'll have so like somebody said earlier, we're not going to make it, we're not going to solve it immediately, but we're going to make it better. We're going to move the ball down the field, and we're going to tee up the communities for success. Slide, please. Next steps, we're going to put a lot of miles on Chris's car as he meets with all of the relevant players in each of these communities in the county. We're also going to be calling on the county staff to help us gather some initial information. We really need information about what infrastructure is in place already, what permits have been granted, GIS data and things like that. So we'll be turning to county and local staff for that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Connie to sort of sum things up.
Great. I want to just take a moment and let Chris introduce himself and speak to the stuff he's been working on so far.
Hi, my name is Chris Crandall. I'm a higher education specialist. I've worked at community colleges, state colleges, as well as private colleges and international colleges, and I'm back in my home region to provide internet connectivity to all the rural communities. And we're living in an AI age, and many of our residents don't even have internet. So I'm here to solve that problem, and I'm willing to work with the supervisors and anyone else that's interested in the local communities to get this done. So they should be providing my contact information, and we should have a centralized website that's going up soon for the community to access to find information on the various events and meetings that we'll be having over the next few months. And I hope to roll this plan forward and get it done for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I also, I just realized I should have also given a shout out to our friends at AT&T who have been doing laptop distributions in Southern Humboldt and I think Fortuna also. So there's a lot of activity that's been happening, and there will be a lot of activity coming up soon. And with that, I will thank you for the presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Connie. First, I'm just going to go to public comment. Do we have anything online?
No, but I do have Supervisor Madrone's hand up.
Okay, we'll get to him in just a minute. Anyone in the room? All right, Supervisor Madrone, you want to lead off this conversation?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Connie and Susan, Chris, Brian, all of you, thank you all so much for the update and the details. As you can imagine, people are chomping at the bit, so to speak. We had a lot of lines laid all over to the schools a long time ago, but then they weren't allowed to connect up to anybody along the way, which was kind of bizarre, I have to say, in terms of expenditure of public funds. So it is so rewarding to see this effort happening, and that list of communities is certainly a very good list of deserving communities, very rural, to get this connectivity. So thank you for that. And thank you to the tribes for being a big part of this, because without them, I don't think we'd have a lot of the infrastructure coming into play, not only down 96 and over Bald Hills to Oric, but the connectivity through Hoopa, so that we've got that, what do you call it, Connie, redundancy, or maybe not redundancy, but
route diversity.
Route diversity, yeah, I remember you changed the term. So that's great, because they're connecting between the routes up on 96 over to 299, which is so great to have that diversity. As we know, some backhoe comes in and digs somewhere and lost the line for a while, right? I will say that I am a little concerned about what happened on the coast. Originally, when the proposals were submitted, the line that comes over Bald Hills to Oric was supposed to come down and connect to McKinleyville. And now they're not doing that. And so I have to say, that seems to me that it leaves out the Trinidad, Big Lagoon, Patrick's Point, West Haven areas from this. But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you could clarify that, or maybe it's more of a question for the Yurok tribe. But I am concerned about the loss of that potential connectivity. So can you please clarify what's going on there? And I have to say, I live in that area, so conflict of interest, right?
Well, guess what? That is the middle mile route I forgot. Trinidad, Eureka to Trinidad is almost built. And so Vero got the grant for building that route, and they are almost done with it, Supervisor Madrone. So actually, we will have, when this is all over, connectivity from the Bay Area all the way up to Crescent City. There's just slices that are happening along the way. But I knew I had forgotten one important route, and I also should mention that Chris was up in Oric last week too, talking to constituents up there, and has connected with folks. So yes, that coastal route is important, and it's going to get done.
Well, that's great. So I guess that's why they didn't need to come from Oric South, because it's coming from the south north. And while Trinidad may have a fairly high income base, all of the surrounding communities are disadvantaged communities. And Chris, more than happy to help with anything in my district. As you guys said, you're going to need that help with outreach. So happy to help with that. And again, thank you all. This is just going to be so wonderful to have all this connectivity. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor. Any supervisors up here on the dais? Supervisor Bushnell?
Thank you. Thank you for the update. And Connie, thanks for mentioning the computer giveaways that happened. It was actually in District 2, and then also I believe in Eureka, they did the same thing. And so we just coordinated through the Redway FRC. Thanks for all their work, but did Matole and Fortuna folks as well. And the broadband is hooking up in Garberville, which has been really great for businesses. I've heard really good things about, and Redway, about that going in and how fast the internet is and how great that's been for those folks down there. So I really appreciate the continued effort to get Humboldt County up with broadband and all of the work that this team does.
Great. Anybody else? Supervisor Bone?
Yeah, Connie was actually our RCRC Person of the Year 3-4 years ago for her work on broadband. She was instrumental in actually RCRC starting the Golden State Connect Authority, which is handling broadband in 35 or 36 of the rural counties, Mono, Alpine, Imperial. We just got 3 weeks ago, we just got a $97 million bond funding. We've got funding to start up Golden State Connect Authority back in 2020, late 2021, I believe. And now we've got a construction crews set up and everything else. But Connie's been instrumental, but it was kind of funny. I serve on the executive committee of Golden State Connect Authority, but Humboldt County really isn't active in it. And everybody always asks, how come you're not lit up there when they show the map of everybody's connected? And I go, well, that's because we have Connie Stewart. And Connie's we've been to a few PUC meetings. She was instrumental in getting broadband and high-speed fiber into Ferndale that we're looking forward to connect soon. She was instrumental at a PUC hearing, it's been 4 or 5 years ago, of getting fiber spread from Petrolia to Honeydew so they could do their core testing, because some of those kids would have to go into Ferndale to do their core testing and some of their state mandated educational, because they didn't have the bandwidth to do it in Petrolia, and that's helped out there too with the help of Frontier, I believe. So I don't think we can underestimate what Connie's tentacles go everywhere for the benefit of Humboldt County. So thanks, Connie.
Okay.
Thank you, Supervisor Bone. How do we start? We met over the Petrolia fiber. That was really our first journey together, and we still have a long way to go.
Sure do, and thanks for all those efforts. I will, remind everyone that when we first got fiber here 25 years ago, it went through communities that didn't get the service. Yeah, they didn't get connected, which was really annoying to a lot of folks. And I'm glad to hear that folks in Garberville and Redway are now receiving service they should have gotten 2 decades ago. That being said, it's only because of the efforts of the folks that have been working since 2005, as Connie says. And I remember those first meetings at the community center in Arcata, and it's just amazing we've gotten this far. And I'm looking forward to how we move forward. I'm just grateful. I actually have competing services in my neighborhood now, which is great. Connie, if someone from your staff or from your crew could reach out and send me an email, I have some questions around some connectivity in some parts of my district that I'd like to talk to you about, but not here on the dais. That being said, let's finish this out with a motion to receive and file this report.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the report, and thanks for all the work.
Great. Do we have a second?
Happy to second.
Great. All right. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Bone,
Yes, and I just want to give out a shout. I know but Tina was a big part of that, and she was everywhere. And I'll have to give a little bit of credit to Greg Foster because he seemed to hang around quite a bit too back in those days.
Supervisor Arroyo,
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell,
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes, and a big shout out to Access Humboldt as well.
Chair Wilson.
So many shout outs. Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. I think that ends our agenda for items that are not on closed session. We're going to take a break from now. Not closed session, excuse me. We have a time set. Pardon me. So we're going to take a break from now till noon when we're going to we have a time set that we talked about earlier. So everyone take your break and we'll be back. Do I have to adjourn? No. What do I do here? Just recess. That's what we're doing. All right. We'll see you back here at noon then. All right, about a whole nother agency. All right, are we all ready? We're at noon. We had a time set. And so, Director Ford, please take it away.
Thank you, Chair Wilson, and members of the Board of Supervisors, John Ford, Augustus Grishaw, and Rodney Yandel, to present an amendment to the Inland and Coastal Zoning Ordinance to address employee housing.
Hold on, do I have to open a public hearing? I'm doing that right now. Thank you. Proceed, sir.
So thank you. This is another implementation measure from the housing element, and what is really at stake here, and I'm sure Augustus will clarify this, is really coming into compliance with state regulations and also fulfilling the obligations that we set for ourselves in the housing element. So I'm going to turn it over to Augustus now.
Yep. So in Housing Element Implementation Measure number 47, we promise to amend our zoning regulations in accordance with Health and Safety Code 17021.5 and 17021.6. As part of this update, we're also incorporating a couple other sections just because they're either intertwined or heavily related. What's important to understand is that this is all about employee housing, regardless of whether or not it's agricultural employee housing. There are certain nuances that get applied when we're dealing with agricultural employee housing that we may be able to get to later. Employee housing is any portion of any housing accommodation or property upon which housing accommodation is located that serves 5 or more employees. That can either be directly associated with the work or workplace, or if it's not directly associated with it, in that case, it needs to meet a couple other standards and also be serving agricultural employees in those cases. We need to break this down further into small-scale employee housing, which serves 5 to 6 employees and is equivalent to single-family residential in essentially every permitting aspect. And then we have large-scale employee housing, which is 36 beds in a group quarters or 12 single-family residential scale units. And that is equivalent to agricultural unit uses. Further on, we then also have eligible agricultural employee housing developments, which is even higher tier, serving 36 units, each designed for use by only a single household. And it needs to meet all the development standards that we set forth, which need to be compliant with section 17021.8. The Planning Commission approved and recommended all of the development standards that we have, we're proposing to you today, with the minor exception that they proposed a range for the minimum size of each dwelling unit. The point in the range that we're recommending as planning staff is 350 square feet for a single person, plus an additional 175 square feet for each additional person. The goal is to have sufficient per person per household living space. We recommend adopting the resolution as recommended in the staff report, and also adopting the ordinance and directing the clerk of the board to publish the post-adoption summary. That concludes my presentation, but I'm here and able to answer any additional questions y'all may have.
I make a motion we accept staff's recommendation and follow state law.
Second.
All right. Seems like this will be a pretty short conversation. Is there any online commenters?
Yes. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Well, what a brief presentation. Thank you for the brief presentation. Strongly look forward to moving forward with projects of this nature. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Clarifying, it's not a project. Is there anyone in the room? Seeing that there's none, any comments from the Board of Supervisors? I have just a quick question. One is in terms of worker housing. I know that agricultural and educational has been fairly traditional in that from a federal standpoint in terms of fair housing laws. So would this also apply to visitor serving and medical and some other employment categories?
Yes, it could.
And how, was there any analysis done either by the state or by us on its nexus with the Federal Fair Housing Act?
I'm not aware that the state did analysis to that effect.
Okay.
We do know that the state has been very active in supporting housing.
Yeah. And the reason I ask this question, because sometimes, like, say for like nonprofit medical services, like locally, there's been discussion about building housing for their workers. And so the question has been, can they use funds to do that, grant funds to do that? And there's been some questions whether federal funds could be used, but I guess I'm hoping that this opens up the opportunity for state funds. Do we have any?
I think it may.
Okay.
Frankly, state money right now for housing is a little bit slim.
Yep. Okay. Does Supervisor Madrone, is he on, and does he have anything to say?
He does not have his hand up.
Okay.
But he might.
Actually, I do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Supervisor Madrone, this is your chance.
I did not get my hand up. Sorry, Kaylee. Yeah, just a couple quick questions for the planning team there. So with employee housing on ag zoned land, which I believe it is permitted by this, it talks about it needing a use permit. I'm assuming that's a conditional use permit. And oftentimes, a discretionary permit by CEQA law dictates that it triggers a CEQA analysis, and yet there is another part in the ordinance and the staff report that talk about that this particular item of employee housing for work, labor work camps, all that kind of stuff, would be exempt from CEQA unless it triggered certain conditions like being in a floodplain or a wetland or a number of other conditions. Can you clarify that situation of it needing a use permit and whether it would trigger CEQA?
So there's several different ways to get to employee housing in this particular case. One is through the qualified housing that's identified with a lot of performance standards. The others, and probably the ones that are most simple, which are traditional and have been part of the state law for a while, is, as Ms. Shaw mentioned, is the small employee housing and then the large employee housing. And those have been incorporated into the definitions of either single-family residential or agriculture. So for an agricultural use or something on a property zoned to agriculture, the agriculture employee housing is permitted by right because it is equivalent to agriculture.
Okay, so therefore, no CEQA requirement under those conditions.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
All right, see no more conversation. Is there a motion to, or did we already have that? It's been made. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell,
Yes.
Supervisor Bone,
Yep.
Supervisor Arroyo,
Yes.
Chair Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Thank you for all your work on this. Appreciate it. And we are adjourning this meeting in memory of Mr. Corbett and Ms. Sparks. There you go. Supervisor
And no meeting
supervisor.
next week.
And there's no meeting next week. Wow. Amazing. Okay. See you all in a couple weeks, at least on this channel. All right.